Phoenixes are rising. Hey, how are you doing? All right. Hey, Phoenix is rising. So I am excited. I recorded this once on my day off, and unfortunately, it did not take. And it was probably about 2 hours of nothing but silence. So there have been some strange anomalies happening, and for those of us who have been in this battle for way too long, especially within the last 20 years. Uh, some folks are getting grumpy, and they don't want certain things coming out, and it's the weirdest thing. I mean, I'm not like wanting to talk about that type of stuff in that or use those type of terms, but it's been quite evident while I was at work. It was all of a sudden I could feel a negative energy, like a breeze, and all of a sudden people were like forgetting and confused, and they're it's kind of like every things were starting to invert on themselves. So I have no idea what that really was, but anyway, here we are, and I am glad that you guys are rolling with me. I thank you so much for all of my subscribers. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy First Nation Day. Happy Indigenous Day. Blessings to everyone, all of my Phoenix Rising Academy warriors. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I thank you for those of you who have helped me to build up this channel and to create a community. I thank you for your comments, especially because as a transformational coach and narc coach, I want to be able to hone in on what you guys' needs are. I was so ecstatic to find out that I can post in a community board now. So, hey, yay. Um, yay. So, yeah. Um, hopefully, I'll, within this next year, this new year, there are going to be some changes. Again, I will be offering a master program of 8 weeks. It's two parts. You can't take either separately. You may be, if you want to do independent study, you can you can do that. There will be a discount for that because you're doing it independently. If you when you pay the rate for the 8 week program is because I'm working with you guys personally. I'm not, you just don't go over to a third party where that's hosting the course. We meet every week and we talk until we're done. Then we go through the next week, and then we get together again on a Zoom call. And on top of everything else, you get to schedule two 60-minute consultations with me, you know, and it can be whatever, if there's something that you want to talk about. But do please remember that I am just a coach. A coach is different from a therapist. And so don't get offended, as I've had some clients do. Don't get offended if I have to redirect you to the somebody who can help you, because I am not a therapist. All right, I do not prescribe, medication or anything else. My job is to, in the hero story, there's always some wise one that pops up, or somebody that helps to propel the protagonist forward in the story. Because at the beginning, the hero doesn't want to take it on, and you can do that in any cycle in your life. It's like, okay, I want to do this. Oh gosh, that looks scary, right? I mean, how many, just go through your day, go through a 24-hour day and see, detail your hero's journey. Google hero's journey, John Campbell's hero's journey, and the map that they have for that, and just do a 24-hour check, right? So basically, I am the one that helps to get, that gives you the wisdom, that gives you the training, that gives you the tools for you to go on up until a certain, period in your healing journey, in your transformation. And the rest really is up to you, right? As those of you who are parents, right? The rest is you. You feed, you clothe, you house, you protect, you drop wisdom, right? From your soul tribe to this entity that you've helped to co-create, right? That and bring into this world, and then really it's up to that being, right? Even though it looks like a child, some of those beings are over 2 million years old. So you know. That's the definition of an old soul. This is not our first rodeo, and some of us had to come back down here because we are the healers, and as healers, we have to we're trained in the spiritual realm to be able to handle things down here and to knock it out of the to get things into back into alignment. And a lot of times it's not that we forget, it's that when we come into such a dense and toxic um, atmosphere, it's jolting, kind of like as empaths, when somebody comes around us and they're full of crap, and we feel our throat chakra, vishuddhi chakra, close. So you feel a closing of your throat. And that's the entity on that person. So your higher self. So so sometimes by not knowing ourselves, when they try and get us um, to rely on them, to that learned helplessness is what we when we come down into this dimension, is a learned helplessness. And it's not what's supposed to be here. This is not a bad environment. It's just what these lower vibrating demonic entities have done, have created, because they want what we have. They can't be us, so they stopped on this. It's like, oh, this is beautiful. I want this. I want that. I want this. But not for the same reasons that we do. So anyway, that is what I do. I guide you guys through, and I provide community. I provide support. I provide, as we're talking, there's no judging, right? There's constructive criticism. There's constructive observing, basically. But be especially for, again, I'm a transformational coach, and I focus on Black lesbians and trans between 30 and 50, as those, we're in the margins. We don't talk about narcissistic abuse. Now it's popular, right? We don't talk about the gang stalking, but now it's popular. But it doesn't mean that we still have a safe place. And one thing that has really been at the forefront for me is, a coach needs a coach. But it's like, how can I talk about gang stalking and witchcraft and all this other stuff without, because a lot of times what we go through overwhelms our counselors or our psychiatrists or whatever, right? When we're going that route, and they start looking for to put us at the funny farm, you know. Like, how can I say that I have this succubus who's hooked herself into me? You know what I mean? Does witchcraft and graveyard spells and all this other kind of stuff without somebody, and she's clinging. She's constantly trying to control me. So you can't say things like that, and you can, but you may not. You get that blank stare. With me, I have already been through it, so that's what makes me a better transformational coach and a narc coach. And I don't know a lot about all these other narc coaches. I don't. I really, some of them just regurgitate, and some of them rub me the wrong way. Pardon me, and I may rub them the wrong way, but when some of them rub me the wrong way, I block them because there's a reason for that, and that's usually because they're narcissists themselves. And a lot of times people will get out of abusive relationships and they won't transition completely. They won't, their blessings aren't. They don't can't find the blessings in the ashes, right? So they end up. There's a lot of times. When I went to this one school, and it was absolutely my introduction into demonology, or the demonic realm, and the entities of that realm, because they were conjuring a lot of stuff out there. But it was the first time that the saying is that, a predator turned, or victim turned predator, and that's what they usually do. If you can't beat them, join them, because they're so broken, right? And because I went through the fire, and for my own legacy, for my own wanting to needing to break those generational curses, right? Um, And when you get to that point, because a lot of people can't take the clarity. If you guys have never watched The Matrix, please go rent it, buy it, download it, do whatever you got to do. Watch it, at least the first Matrix with Keanu Reeves, and Jada Pinkett Smith, I think, is in the second one. Will Smith does not grace us with his presence, but uh, um, in the first one, it's like when he first taps out of the matrix and he actually sees the world for what it is, this kind of mundane, and it's not really like that though, but you know what I mean? Like when I would see into the spiritual realm and see the battle going on because I had somebody who was uh, kept doing some fire stuff or whatever. But I saw the destruction that was in that realm. I saw that my angels, not just my soul tribe, but there was literally a war going on. I mean, I had a guide that I don't know, didn't get to know his name. I just know that it was a him and that he was very tall and that he was not playing when it came to me. I have no idea who this was. If it was an ancestor who had, because I didn't grow up with a family, so I'm not connected to a physical family here on earth. But I've always been connected with my spiritual father and mother and my spiritual um, relatives. But it's this first time in my journey when I was homeless 2 years ago that I started to, want to connect and want to know them by name. And the reason why is I always tell people journal when you're getting out, when you're transitioning, journal all your feelings. You don't even have to keep the journal. You can burn the pages, but through journaling, there's kind of like a stream of consciousness that because you're not thinking about what you're writing. When I'm writing a script, when I'm even doing an outline, I'm thinking about and then, beginning, middle, and end, right? I'm thinking about form. When you're journaling, you're not thinking about form, you're just thinking about getting it out, right? You're just thinking about getting it out, and that's a way of purging, right? To help with the transformation. And it was in that purging of all that toxicity, of all that dead weight, that white noise that was in my head and in my energy field, that I realized it's like, okay, wait a minute, there's something speaking through me that wants me to know that, hey, we're here. And that was the beauty of it. So don't. And I used to do free writing before, um, you know, New Agers and all that kind of crap. Started talking about it and making it some big mystic phenomena or whatever. Um, so anyway, I got a download, and I'm gonna have to. I'm training myself to stop holding on to when I get downloads and just doing the video then, no matter how crappy it is or where I'm at. Because most taught up to me get the movie Get Out, and it's been a while since I've seen it, and I am going through a bit of brain fog because I still am dealing with attacks. The succubus is not giving up, and when you realize, when you know the tactics and tools of cluster B personalities, you know the tools and tactics and methods to the madness of the demonic realm, into basically the template, and that's what we go through in the 8 week program. So make sure that you read the description. I know it's long and wordy, and I do like to keep things really clean and crisp. But I want you guys to know. I like to be transparent, so I want you guys to know what it is you'll be signing up for, right? So the 8 week program, from sealed to healed, is a 2 part course and or 2 part program, and the first part is going in depth as to cluster B personalities, what they are, their tactics, their tools, some phrases that you need to be familiar with, and how to recognize it, because it doesn't show up the way that people think. And a lot of psychologists, and not of even those who specialize in narcissistic recovery, doesn't mean that they can't help you heal, but a lot of it is book stuff. And where I'm coming from is the supernatural, and combining all of that, combining the book, combining. I love Shahidi Arabi, and she's a master's in psychology and other stuff, and she has a lot of great books out, many of which I have. So I will share that with you guys. Um, But yeah, to be able to come from the spiritual, because that's what they attack first. That's what the Most High showed me. It's like they're attacking your mind first, and that's a spiritual thing, because that's where your thoughts, that's where your creativity, that's all. That's where the seeds get planted, so that you can birth your purpose. You know, and that's what they attack first, because if they can't be a part of it, especially, they want to destroy you. If they can't have you and drain you sexually, they want you to feel unattractive, and the way that they get you to feel unattractive is to put a lot of stress on you, so that way you think that you're, oh, it's because you're overeating. No, it's stress in itself. You see people who, they were fine, they were working out, they were doing their thing, but once they get into that state of fight or flight, and they get PTSD from being in a relationship with a cluster B personality, of course, you know, and they're unpredictable. They get into this pattern like a Pavlov dog, and that person has control over them, and they don't know what's up and down, and then they get criticized by society, right? Because the narcissist, the cluster B personality cocktail, is in the world, right? So to you have to realize, that's why I talk a lot about weight, my own struggle with having to remember. And it's not really like a struggle for me, my weight, because I know that if I was not under stress, if I was not being psychologically attacked, if I was not being attacked with witchcraft, still to this day, um, and one of the things that they do attack, because I was doing just fine. I've been working a lot, so I was doing really just fine, as we transitioned. I was feeling happy. I was laughing more than I'd ever laughed in my life, because I missed it. I missed that feminine energy, which is the core of me. I've always identified myself as a two spirit. When I say that I'm trans, it's that I can transform, I can transition from masculine to feminine at will. So, but a lot of people, especially down here, because when you got somebody where you're working with immature demonic entities working through human vessels, human hosts, you don't, they can't handle the complexity of living, so they always like to break things down to try and make it seem really hard or complex. But really what they're doing is they're trying to part people out, because their whole goal is to make money off of your pain, right? And I heard somebody on a talk show, TV show, radio podcast, talk about that. It's like, yes, I mean, of course, there's nothing wrong with telling your story and writing a book and getting a deal and doing all that, writing a movie, da da da. Da. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about them not even acknowledging you as a human being, a spiritual being having a human experience, and then this is the effects of what's going on with you. I'm talking about them just, okay, you're going to stay here, because this is, if you've ever been in a cluster B personality relationship, you know that they will bait and switch, that they gaslight you, that they slander you, that they love bomb you, and then they devalue you, and they can do that over and over and over and over and over again. And I've said before, the first point of action is in through your mind. You got to get through back to your mind. You got to heal that. Um, and which goes into, again, I kind of got lost, but it goes into the movie Get Out, and the mother, she was a mind control programmer. And what she did was is get him to body swap with them, relatives or friends. Really? Oh my gosh. Can we stop? Oh my gosh, you guys. So my internet just went off, you guys. I'm sorry about that. And I don't know what happened or if it's going. I've said so many good things. So one thing that I've been noticing, and let me know in the comments, Phoenix is rising, especially every time I go to do something. Now I have this sex offender that I've talked to you guys about, um, who's been a great example of just how insane and delusional and psychotic somebody with a cluster B personality truly is. Like, this person has turned themselves into a monster simply because I have divine protection, and that throwing death at me, or even killing my loved ones, would not deter me from fulfilling my purpose. And so I got this person who's always, around. And so since they can't do that, you'll find that when they can't get at you in the physical, they will go after you in the spiritual, and they will use witchcraft to do it. They will use astral terrorism. They will use. I've had people. I've said this before. So if you've already heard it, just bear with me. If this is for the people who are new and just coming to this video, and I appreciate you guys. And again, if I haven't said it, I'll say it again. I appreciate my subscribers. I appreciate you guys commenting and really truly interacting. I appreciate the thumbs up, so it gets to the algorithm, lets them know that this is important, that we are here as a Phoenix Rising Academy, and that we are a force to be reckoned with, and that we will continue. We will not give up. And that's the thing. I want to provide a place for, as I said, my focus is for on lesbian and trans women between 30 and 50, to provide a safe haven and a community where we can talk about, things that we go through as Black lesbians. Myself identified as a Black lesbian. Um, and I've said I'm a two spirit, and trans comes in with me as being able to mute, but also to go, just we're both all feminine and masculine, but some of us are feminine and masculine in one host. And so I identified that at a young age. So anyway, I appreciate you guys. I love you. Thank you so much, because I have yet to be able to tell you guys my story and give you visuals and, go that route, because I'm always interrupted. And so one thing that's been happening for the last couple days has been uh, uh, energetic interruptions, where all of a sudden, I'll feel dizzy. Anytime you feel dizzy or sick to your stomach, and your head starts you know if kind of feeling like you're having a stroke or something, and you're not having something, you could be, but if you're not smelling burnt toast. I used to have this person. You want to say, this is why you go for the mind. You heal your mind. Transformation starts with your mind, Phoenixes. And so that's, as a transformational coach and a narc coach, what makes me the best is that I am going to share. I have gone through the witchcraft. I have gone through the death spells. I have had these people try and body swap with me. I had them trying to lynch me, give me COVID, make give me MS. I had the succubus, which was rolling their reptilic body, like her form, the demonic form was a reptilian body, but she tried to make it seem as something honorable. And, oh, well, just go for the wolf, or I'm the dragon. You're not a dragon. I'm a dragon. You're not a dragon. You're a demon. You're a reptoid. You're you know what I mean. You're from some place that, and you're disgusting. And so I can see, there's a difference between gifts and abilities. We have gifts that are legacy, right? We have gifts that we can do. It's like, elves can do certain things, fairies can do certain things, ogres can do certain things, right? It's all that. So being able to see into the spiritual world, and being able to see that these guys are doing to me, and how they're attacking me, and even those demons of lust, and smelling the cigarettes, and because I've quit smoking, now they want to make me smoke, or because I don't drink, now they want to give, talk to me about drinking. So it's not, when people say, oh, the devil will try and convince you. The devil works through people like God works through people. They all have a team. And so the devil, when these demonic entities working through these human hosts, and they do it willingly, they offer them. Some people are at just receptacles for demonic entities. Period. And until they become What ends up happening with the cluster B personality when they discard you, especially, and you don't come back, or you discard them, that's a narcissistic wound. And they will stalk you. They will have flying monkeys stalk you. When the flying monkeys, and like in my case, the flying monkeys started to get scared because I am in the world and not of it. When the Most High tells me that these guys, because these guys were coming at me hard, like, I mean, you want to talk about stress fat, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, and I'm grateful that I was fasting then, because I had a rule for myself. And see, this is the goal. This is the blessing of being disciplined, and it's the blessing of fasting, because all that time when I was in that environment, which was a very demonic, toxic, masculine environment, didn't matter what gender these guys were, they were still demonic whore hosts. So, um, and that's a toxic masculine energy. Even as a succubus, you're trying to dominate, you're trying to control, right? The succubus had done she started out slow. She go, oh, I'll just do a binding spell, and binding domination spell is what she did. And I could feel it because I heard her say, and I saw her demonic, form, and I saw her slithering around me, and I was really grossed out by it. But I was like, "You need to get away." And she got shocked, like I could feel the shock, because it's like, wait a minute, how are you throwing this back? And so basically, her spell got boomerang back to her with more intensity than she threw it out, and she's been. Harassing me for over 3 years. Like, then I don't get the, I understood, you'll get to the point where you understand cluster B personalities, their tactics, their methods, to their madness, but it'll still kind of throw you off because it's like there's no cutoff point. That's when a cluster B personality, which is what a succubus is, and an incubus is, when you think that you can, when and these people are sex offenders. They groom. Cluster B personalities groom like sex offenders. Okay. And there you can read more up on that, because I was like, these guys are grooming like sex offenders. So, but basically, um, when the basic stuff that a cluster B personality would normally do to groom you or whatever would work, and it doesn't work. Even though they won't show it to the outside world, they'll act like everything's going okay, peachy, all right, and uh, nobody will be the wiser that they're absolutely enraged. And that's what's thrown me off. Like, when you have somebody who, because especially if they're astral projecting and they're into the Santa Muerte cult shit, which has become very popular. I was talking to somebody last night, and they said that witchcraft, Santa Muerte worship has grown globally to, what did they say, over 200 million. So think about that, because Santa Muerte is a demon. I don't care what anybody says. You may not be a demon, but if you're playing with her, that is her root. And that was created by the Catholic Church. So that's her root. Her root is a demon to give everybody their desires as long as they make a sacrifice. The young, beautiful black girl who was taken to Mexico, of all places, and unalived by so called friends, was a sacrifice. If people aren't careful, and I get this because I have people who are trying to get into my energy because of who I am. They're like, well, how come it's not me? Doesn't mean that I'm super attractive, right? Doesn't mean that, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't have a whole bunch of money. I'm content. I'd like to be, thriving, but we'll get to that. But you know what I mean? So a lot of times it's like we was like, well, I don't look. No, it's your energy, it's your legacy, it's your bloodline, because they know that they're not covered. They have to continue to sacrifice people. And when people say, I know a lot of these tarot readers are really getting annoying because they're not thinking, and they're become very lazy in their craft to where it's not a craft at all anymore. I mean, I can get 3 4 decks and set up a camera and, put some occultic crap in the background, and, a little bit in the foreground, and give some cool lighting and throw some cards down, because really what I hear them saying is the same stuff that everybody, it gives the Borg now. So you're ceasing to be anything. There's only a couple that I listen to, and every once in a while when they post, and I'll listen to them because they're right on. But I think that everybody who is wise and who is on to the bullcorn is seeing through, is being attacked. So anyway, when the narcissists, when the flying monkeys don't work, the grooming, the hoovering does not work, sending flying monkeys doesn't work, and stalking you themselves doesn't work, it puts them in, they start to get obsessed, because it's like, okay, well, why isn't it working? Why, I've done this so many times, why isn't it working? And they become obsessed. So they can throw themselves into a psychosis, and a psychosis does feel, if you ever feel like you're getting dizzy or whatever, and like you've had a stroke or an aneurysm, basically what that is that's the entity that's attached to them that they're projecting towards you. And it's it's them going through a psychosis. And I've said this before, and the reason why I'm a good coach, is a transformational coach, is because I can go from the spiritual, whereas these guys who are clinical and book fed. Not saying there's not a lot of good books, but if you can't come to me experientially, I don't want to talk to you. I've almost lost my life. I've been going through this for the last 15, 20 years almost. And I think a lot of us have. I'm not special. A lot of us have, but a lot of us didn't know what the hell we were going through. Like after 9/11, life just stopped, and there was more surveillance, and there was more that, I mean, there was more criticism, there was more attacking of, going under the guise of, well, they're Republican, right? Well, I'm going to use that route because stuff, right? Because people were uncovering things that were out of sync with what was told. There was video, right? Because now electronics, and I have a camera on my phone which is portable. I can go anywhere. I can charge it up. I don't need to rent a video camera and get batteries and stuff. It's right there in my hand. I have a tiny computer, basically in my hand. And as the technology began to evolve and become more resilient, now everything's, is being shown. So um, a lot of people, that when the gang stalking has been going on since then, because they had to shut people up. They were, I mean, if you those of you um, who were following that realize, how many people were dying and jumping on off bridges and having their families, the families was unalived and all this other stuff. It was not something to be toyed with. They really wanted to shut everybody up because they didn't want a narcissist never not want to take responsibility for their actions. And so you think about collective narcissism, right? And this is what I said. As if you've listened, if you're new here, welcome, thank you. Please subscribe and ring the bell. There's a lot of good nuggets that are coming, especially after this year, when this year New Year pops, because the battle's been won. Some of us, and we mourn our lost brothers and sisters who could only go so far, because it's been a battle. It's been a battle, and I'm so grateful that I am a transformational coach and a narc coach, and that I can create a community, and I can share my experience with you guys and provide you with tools to defend yourself, spiritual tools. Right? So we can talk about, okay, yeah, there was this demon and it felt like this, and I kind of saw a little bit of it and it scared me and I kind of tried to black it out, but this is how I felt in my body. It's like, yeah, I've gone through that. You'll feel your body bloat, like say, well, why am I bloating? I'm not on my monthly, I'm not going through any of that, and not, or whatever. And see, emotional intelligence comes through. You gain that when you start healing your wounds. When you raise that child up to the level that it needs to be inside of you, you can still have the heart of a child. But when you raise that child up, you're not coming from the child who was wounded. You're not coming from the child who was abandoned by their father or mother. You're not coming through the child who was dealing with you know, uh, 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 sexual trauma, emotional trauma, right? You've healed it up because you have a better and clearer understanding of it, of what happened, right? Because a lot of times when we're going through trauma, we go through fight, freeze, or fawn, and we're not getting the whole picture. We're, you know what I mean? It's not possible. It's not possible until it's not. Doesn't mean that we don't record. We don't stop recording, but we stop being conscious. It's kind of, of of that recording, of the fact that we are recording, or the or what's going, what we're looking at, what we're recording. So anyway, but yeah. So welcome everybody again. Um, so let's get to it. I've been working overtime, and I've only had 3 hours sleep, and I'm still doing overtime. But I thought, let me get this out here now. And so the movie Get Out, the meaning that stood. If I don't know if this cut off completely, I just know that my Wi-Fi did it. So I'll go back to talking about it again. The movie Get Out, basically, I'm not going to go and rehash it just in case this is been still being recorded from the last time it stopped. But anyway, basically, what that's talking about is people no longer trying to break your body, but break your mind, so that they can insert themselves in it, whether it be body swapping, like I have. I have a woman who wants to body swap with me. Um, and she's not taking, or it, to be honest, and I'm not trying to be funny, but it is not taking, um, because she's gone into a psychosis, and I can feel that she's more demonic monster than she is uh, whatever. There's no trace of humanity to her, and she's desperate. So anyway, yeah, this person did a ritual to try and body swap with me, which meant that my consciousness from the story of Get Out, when the mother, the psychologist, the mind control handler, right, and she kept using her spoon and clicking. She was doing real slow, real subtle, real easy, very consistent, and get him in a trance, right? He was in a trance as soon as he stepped out on, was actually as soon as he worked with the daughter. But you see how they ganged up on him, right? The core was the mother. The other ones were the flying monkeys. And so there was a beautiful scene, beautifully done, where it's like she's gotten him. She said a few key words about his family or whatever, and she used his trauma. She used some type of childhood trauma. I haven't watched it since. It took me a while to watch it because I didn't want to be programmed. I wanted to be spiritually prepared, mentally prepared to watch. Sometimes, the Most High will be like, don't watch it right now. Watch it, when I tell you to or whatever. And then when I watch it, it's like, okay, now I'm ready because I have the ability to break it down or whatever. So, but she used the gateway, the doorway to into his mind was trauma, was his unhealed, unresolved trauma. And from that, when she kind of worked it and dug that hole and kept swirling and swirling and swirling, and until he was no longer in his right mind. Basically, he was out of his mind, he was out of the consciousness, and he was in there. So the scene was him floating in this abyss of nothingness, and he can see through this door that's way out of reach from him, and he can see him looking at her. I think that's what it was. It was beautifully done. And but when he was able to get his consciousness back, because they were prepping him to be a vessel for an older white person who was sickly and they wanted something. They wanted to use his body. So think about that, Phoenixes. When you have somebody who is jealous of you, when you think about going back, this is why it starts when your mind. Then how it starts is what those things she came after him through his trauma, through his childhood trauma, right? So when you have unhealed, I had unhealed abandonment issues with my mother. So I was dating women who, number one, were of a different race, but for the reasons, I don't care if you date outside your race, but because it's not the race, it's not the color, it's the spirit. That's basically it. It's the spirit. If you still are unhealed and you just passive and you're not trying to process it in any way, then you're going to get another narcissist because the other narcissist left their mark and they do like to leave their mark. They do like to leave their mark. That's one thing they love to do. So, because he had that unhealed thing, and I've said in other podcast discussions, you can't give the devil a foothold. If just go back to some of those where I'm talking about my story and the journey when I was forced to be 3 years on the streets. It should have only taken a year, but because I had this narcissist who was going after me through flying monkeys because they were a gang member. I mean, it was a whole shit show. But I mean, they were sabotaging me in one area, and then God would open a door in another area, you know. And so it really became very important for me to tap. I had to literally tap out of everybody else's opinions of me and do what it was that the Most High was telling me, because I was in the world but not of it. So I had Bible verses coming to me, but now I got a deeper, more mature meaning, more scientific meaning behind it, right? Not just fairy tales or anything else like that, but this is what it really meant, you know? But also I had to tell the Most High, I'm not Job. So don't do me like that. But so it was kind of funny. But um yeah, so here's this woman, because they want to possess you. So think about this. When you are in a relationship or you're around toxic people, they don't always have to be narcissists, but they can have those cluster B personalities groom their flying monkeys as well, you know? So imagine, sometimes flying monkeys come from being in toxic, abusive relationships with cluster B personalities, and then they just get passed around, you know. And so but imagine, you got somebody who is trying to confuse you and fragment your spirit. That's what the process that they take you through is mind control. Not saying that they're a CIA handler or anything, you know what I mean. This is not saying that they were a part of Project Montauk. We don't know, but they could have it in their bloodline. But it's the same thing, where you got to traumatize that person so much to the point where they don't know whether they're coming or going. They want you to be a fragmented soul. Why? So they can empty into you their demonic agenda. A cluster B personality, whether, especially if you're, let's talk about work. I'm going to do a podcast discussion about this because it's the first time that I've run into it, at least on a scale like this. And that is workplace mobbing and harassment and slander. And yeah, so but that's so they'll fragment, they're trying to fragment you because you're intimidating to them. They love power. The cluster B personality loves power. And it's not about your looks, it's about your energy. I've said this before. People meet your energy before they meet your physical body. they're attracted to. And you see people who just see, or even if yourself, you've met somebody and you can see the electricity. Your eyes glow, literally. Literally, your eyes are glowing. You both see the glow. It's like a spark, because that's the energetic connection on a cosmic level that you have with somebody. Not necessarily has to be intimate, or it's going to be your life partner, but it's just, okay, maybe we're friends, or maybe we knew each other in a past life, right? And our souls recognize each other, our higher self recognizes each other. But see, a lot of people don't have the maturity to break it down constructively. And so again, that's a foothold for the devil. So that, again, that's what I learned when I was on the streets, is I you have to shut everything down. I had to I'm not going to give the devil a foothold by saying I'm a Republican or a liberal or a green, whatever, right? I'm not going to give the devil a foothold and say, because they'll pigeonhole you into that where you won't be able to move. Well, now you're flip-flopping. No, I'm evolving. It's my on a cosmic level. So when you can die, I had to die to my race, I had to die to my gender, I had to even die to my sexual orientation, I had to die to everything that I thought that I had worked so hard to become. Because when you are fighting so much against something and then all of a sudden there's a release, this is what cluster B personalities are really good for too. I'm going to put pressure on you, like I have, like a crock pot. I'm going to let you boil and perkle and blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden I'm just going to open up the lid and let you go fend for yourself. You know what I mean? After years of fighting, now all of a sudden you're free. So that, I mean, that's basically when we get out of a relationship with a cluster B personality, that's what it feels like, right? It feels like, and I prayed to the Most High too. I said, please, I don't want to be discombobulated, and I wasn't. I don't want, because I remembered, and I'm going to do another podcast. As I said, I'm kind of backed up, you guys, so forgive me. But still support and listen to some other stuff that I've put out, and please don't feel afraid to comment on whether you can relate to it or not, and share your story. How do you feel? I know that sometimes when you're getting out, number one, you got that brain fog, you got that anxiety. Now you're dealing with PT, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and now you're you don't know what to do. It's kind of like a deer in the headlights. It's like, okay, now what? I went through this for so long, and you mean to tell me that it's over? Like, literally, if you guys, when you guys get to know my story, and you guys get to see, and you guys get to hear, because some of this stuff is going to be on the news. It's going to be broadcast. Oh, got SPD on the premises past the basketball courts. Adams copy. All right. I guess he's not going to answer. Weirdo stuff. Okay, so all right. Anyway, yeah. So again, so yeah, you can't give the devil a foothold. I had to die to everything. So go and listen to that stuff when I was first starting out. And it was you guys were the ones that were keeping me going through, because I found like a lot of people, when I would get people who would comment on my videos, not a lot, but I'm a minimalist anyway, so not a lot, but enough to be like, wow, yeah, I can totally relate to that, and thank you for sharing. You're doing a lot of people, you're helping a lot of people, which is what I want to do, which is what is my purpose, is to help people get through this. And so when you're watching the movie Get Out, that scene that stayed with me, um, so deeply, was that fact that she tapped into his uh, childhood wound. Whatever was unhealed in him to get access to him, and then once she got access to him, she exploited it for her own gain, and she expanded it. She held him hostage to it. So he was floating in, able to fight back like he had, and that is what a cluster B personality does. That is what malignant narcissists do. They prey on your weakness. When I became homeless, the cluster B thought, okay, now I can make fun of you, now I can accuse you. I mean, they'd already been doing that, but now you're never going to get back up. Now I'm going to punish you, now I'm going to make you serve me. That was the goal for me. And then I'm going to kill you. Basically what they wanted to do was to prostitute me out. That's what they had been doing with people, grooming them. Can, if you want this different life, somebody was talking about today. I was listening to them, and they were talking about oh, that vampire movie or whatever, and they were saying, well, some of those vampires were turned to save their lives so that they wouldn't die, you know and so that's the thing. It's like, here is a demon who's telling me that they can give me all this stuff, because I wasn't conforming. That's what they wanted me to do. She had been conditioned that, okay, this is how you get power, this is how we take over a little city, a literal city. I'm going to take over the city by bullying, by intimidating, by getting into people's minds and taking it over, right? You have cluster B personalities that are very skilled in doing that. Very skilled in doing that. And that's, but it, when you have your wits about you, when you are healed, they can't pass that, they can't put that by you. I went through a lot of hell. I went through these guys trying to kill me, trying to run me over, trying to kill my dogs, trying to kill me and my dogs and run us over. I mean, it was a never ending um, uh, story with these guys. It was, I mean, like, I could never get a break. Anytime that I thought that I had peace, it was, they would conjure something up. And it wasn't that I was giving them a foothold, it was because I wasn't giving them a foothold. That they would literally strategize to, how can I uh how can I make her feel something, right? How can I get her riled up too? That's why we gray rock, because if, when you are letting your energy just go, right? When she tapped in, okay, here's a white female, older, about 60s, right? Counselor, psychotherapist, that she's talking to this dark-skinned black male, and she's tapping into his emotions, right? That he's had to hold deep because he doesn't want to seem weak, right? And so when she tapped into that, I mean, it was like it just spiraled. It spiraled from there. And so, oh God, I'm looking at the cameras and forgetting what I was supposed to say. But anyway, so that it's basically, they will exploit you. They will exploit everything that you don't have healed. So because he hadn't healed that, she she was able to get in. But here's one thing too that I wanted to say. One thing that they will do, the cluster B personalities will do, if you're in a relationship with a cluster B borderline personality, malignant narcissist, a sociopath, antisocial, histrionic, psychopath, some levels of bipolar, what they will do is, crap, I'm tired, so, but anyway, what they will do so is uh try and once you've healed one thing, and they can, so it's closed up, they can't, it's sealed off, right? Because you're spiritually mature about it now. You've risen because you've done the work in that area of your life. So they will go to the next one. This is the experience I literally had when I was on the streets. So imagine you're on the streets, and hold on. Police on police SUV on property by basketball courts in zone. Uh, 3V. Radio, no response, couldn't hear. Now leaving 0022. Now leaving 0022. Okay, so anyway, and forgive me, like I said, I'm still under attack, and it's going to be very well. I've been given clearance either way. So, and anyway, so once you heal one thing, they will go after another thing, and when you heal that, so basically they're helping you whether they want it, whether they know it or not. They're helping you on the healing journey. Uh, Hold on again, sorry. Police now over South Side dumpsters 0023 parked in letting something out of vehicle. Can't find patrol. Parked something inside vehicle 0023. Can't find patrol. Okay, so anyway, uh, that's what the 8-week program that I am starting this next year. Don't have the exact date. It's to be announced, but it's basically it's getting you familiar with cluster B personalities, their tools and tactics, and just by sharing my story, because again, they don't do, people want to pigeonhole them. That's where we're in a society that likes to pigeonhole. We're in a society that um, likes to hold you to one thing or another and not allow you to evolve. And that's not normal. We all evolve, right? We can, when you stunt your growth, then you become ignorant, and when you become ignorant of something, then you fall for anything, because now you're that learned helplessness. You're letting somebody else dictate to you what is good and what is bad, because they've already shown you how brutal they can be. They've already shown you the consequences of, especially with, that's what narcissists do. And think about that on a societal level. you know you have narcissists who, um, a collective group of narcissists who will shun people for being Republican, will shun people for not defending women's abortion. One thing that got me, and she was one of my favorite actresses, but Rosario Dawson had said, made comments about the power of the poo nanny and all this other stuff, and I'm thinking to, but you support people in killing a baby, which that's the power of your womb. So on one hand, you want to be acknowledged for being this powerful superwoman, but then the same thing that makes you a powerful superwoman, one of the many things that make you a powerful superwoman, you're sitting there fighting to be able to murder souls. I was just like, I don't think, so there's some times where you get people, and that's why you don't worship people, and I wasn't worshiping her, but I liked her. I thought, she was different than uh, most people in Hollywood, because you really don't. I don't follow her, but from what I have known, battery high. Okay, from what I have known of her, is that she has things that she believes in. But what I realized is that it doesn't matter how old you are, or whether you're famous or poor or not, or proletariat. What a lot of people, some people are still, because especially if they're unhealed, some people are still naive. You got all this acknowledgement, and I saw a post of her reading the pedagogy of the oppressed, and I was like, I read that already. Like, you're, I, I mean, but it is what it is. But so anyway, yes. So that was the thing for me for Get Out. Get Out. I'm not going to break the whole movie down because I haven't watched it and in a long time. And but it was the when the whole thing was her consciousness. They wanted to get in, and I have people, when you are dealing with a cluster B personality, whether or not uh, whether or not they are with you in your presence or not, know this, that they are always around in spirit or in flesh and through somebody else. One thing that this cluster B personality would do is body swap with somebody else, right? So she would body swap, or basically send her spirit to attach, because she's a parasite now. She's not, you know what I mean? It's more than astral projecting. Now she's a demonic parasite and stuck in a human, in a fleshly host. And so she would attach herself to other people. And these guys would attach themselves to my root chakra. And I can feel it. Like, as soon as I'm getting going to work, I can feel them trying to attach. Why? Because she's trying to be me, right? It's like the single white female. I want to take your life. And because I'm not letting her, because I can say, hey, you can F off, now she's pissed off because she's so used to, these guys don't like hearing no. They're so used to getting what it is that they want. And when they don't get it, they get pissed. And when they get mad, they get violent, you know? But when they get afraid because they don't want to they don't want to be embarrassed. That's another narcissistic wound. If you're somebody who will fight back, right? So just think about it. Be grateful that you got away, because this is somebody who never stops throwing temper tantrums, never satiated, because of the demons that they've housed, that they can never, that when you heal it, you don't get hungry, right? You don't get hungry when you heal it. You're not trying to feed that wound anymore. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to leave it here with the download that I got for the meaning of, and the movie Get Out. There's multiple meanings, but that was the one that stuck out to me when it was downloaded, and it was absolutely wonderful. So hopefully, share with me, what do you guys think? If you've watched the movie, what did you guys take out of it? Right? Okay, so love you guys, and remember, your blessings are in your ashes, Phoenix. Rise.